where Cove Heritage Centre is now located, to load mail bags from the mail train. The two tenders then travelled to the Titanic, along with a number of smaller vessels carrying local vendors, selling local specialties such as lace and crafts to the wealthy passengers on board. At 11:30 p.m. an exchange of whistles indicated that the tender's business was complete, and the Titanic weighed anchor to the strains of Erin's Lament and A Nation Once Again, played on the bagpipes by steerage passenger Eugene Daly. A total of 1308 passengers were on board as they left Queenstown, together with 898 crew members, making a total of 2,206 on board as she embarked on her final journey. So, you know, they took on board not just passengers, but they took on board water, I'm sure, and yeah, probably fresh vegetables and fruits and a lot of things, which Ireland was very, because if they were to buy them in Southampton, chances are they would have come from Cork anyway, because Ireland was supplying most of the food to England at that time and to the English military. Also, while we're talking about the ships part of it, we'll bounce back. You know, we'll go back again now to the 6th century in a moment. That's what this is. It's a free line. I'll tell you about the Lusitania, because, as you know, the Lusitania was sunk just right off Cork, off the old head of Kinsale to be exact, on May 7th, 1915. The Cunard liner Lusitania was en route from New York to Liverpool, having maintained her Atlantic Passage service despite the outbreak of war. Now, of course, America wasn't in the war. She brought the America into war, but the outbreak of war in Europe. The liner, with 1,959 people on board, was about 10 miles off the old head of Kinsale and travelling at 18 knots when she was struck by a torpedo from a German gunship.
How far was she off the old head?
10 miles.
I thought it was less.
16 kilometres, yeah. Yeah, she was sunk in 300 feet of water, I do remember that. Quite low, quite shallow. Which was one of the reasons they went in there. They were hoping that that would give them protection from submarines. Yeah. So she was running very close to the shore.
Fast.
Pardon?
And fast.
And fast. 18 knots, pretty fast for a big ship, especially in those days. Although I'm sure she was capable of doing more than that at open sea. Anyway, once damaged, the Lusitania quickly listed to one side, making it difficult to launch lifeboats. That was one of the reasons the loss of life was so great. The Lusitania, a flotilla of rescue boats was launched, and 761 people were saved. So there was a huge. They still talked about that down there. Everything that floated went out from Cork and from around there. The majority of the 1,198 passengers who lost their lives were never recovered. The survivors were ferried to Queenstown and were accommodated in local hospitals, lodging houses and private homes. Nearly 3 days after the sinking of the Lusitania, 150 of her victims were buried in mass graves in the Old Church Cemetery, 1 mile north of Queenstown. 80 of them were never identified. So, it has great associations with the big transatlantic liners. But just about every liner that ever was went in there. I mean, and sometimes there'd be 2 or 3 of them together. So if we were to talk about nothing more except just the harbour of Cork, it's the Cork Harbour. It's an amazing thing in and of itself. It was, by the way, I don't have it in my notes here, but it was the actual anchorage for the Royal Navy fleet during the Napoleonic Wars. They did not have anything like it on the south coast of England. I mean, Southampton Bay is not even close. The bay and the facilities at Portsmouth, not even close. You can certainly, they have a lot of repair installations and so on, and there's nothing further up. There's nothing in London, you know. So even around Southampton Water, inside the Isle of Wight. So the Cork Harbour was the storage place, and that's where they came in, refitted, and went back out and blockaded France effectively throughout that whole period, the Napoleonic Wars, in the latter decades of the 1700s, early 1800s. So it was extremely important to the British Royal Navy, for a very long time. Now, let's go right back again to Finbar, or Finbara, because I like that part of it. Oh, by the way, the motto of the modern UCC, University College Cork, is "Where Finbar taught, let Munster learn." So they preserve the Finbar connection very. So, the Diocesan College St Finbar's, St Finbar's hurling team, St Finbar's this, St Finbar's everything. Pardon?
The couple of St Finbar's hospitals.
Everything, St Finbar's Hospital, yeah. It's kind of like the Padres or the mission here. It's that. So certainly, it's like, as I said, very similar to Derry with Columkill. Everything is Columkill up there, which says a tremendous amount about Ireland and the history of Ireland. How that fusion of Christianity and the old Gaelic families became the sort of the royalty in a way, the personages that were almost, I won't say worshipped, but were idealized. Whereas in England they have a different tradition. They have kings and queens. We tend to have saints. And the saints tend to have come from prominent families. So the other thing that fascinates me is, and again, I didn't get this from any books. It's just that I know it from just thinking about it. Again, the River Lee and the banks of my own lovely Lee and everything about the Lee River. It's like the Thames of London or the Seine. I mean, the Lee is it. That's worshipped by Corkmen. You bring tears to their eyes when you play. Don't start. Yeah, I mean, you get a Corkman going about the River Lee, and forget it. He's lost in his beer. And that's great. It's great. But here's the thing and the other thing, apart from Finbar's, is the Shandon bells. I've forgotten the name of the church. What is the name of it? Is it the actual Shandon? I think. The old fort.
Or the four-faced liar.
And the four-faced liar. She's way ahead of me. They have it, the church. Has a clock and it has four. And it's all the times are all different.
Probably the wind.
Probably the wind.
Yeah.
So they always call it the four.
The times are always different.
Yeah. So it's known in Cork as the four-faced liars. Yeah.
The first time Peggy and her sisters came over to visit me, I took them up to Shannon Tower, where you can play the bells by pulling these levers. And so they saw this song, it's called The Derry Air.
Oh.
And they were laughing at Derry Air, and I couldn't understand why. Why are they giggling at Derry Air? It's the Derry Air. And they were like, Derry Air. I couldn't understand.
Danny boy? Yeah?
Derry Air.
Yeah. They didn't like that, or that was fun.
Is Shandon one of the oldest churches in Cork?
Well, some of the old monasteries actually, I think, are older. I think probably the site is undoubtedly the oldest, probably, because of the name Shandun. Like the Dun Gannon Dun. Dun is one of the oldest surviving words, like Tua. So, like Shannowan is the Shannon River, Shandun. So anything begins with Shan is probably Shan, something like that. So the Shandon bells rang out in Old Fremantle and the County Cork, as Adelaide did appear, and so on. It's just, the Shandon bells and the whole thing about Shandon, especially in the diaspora Irish, the outside they sing about Shandon. But the Shandon bells. By the way, I think there's 37 bells. I read it somewhere.
All I know is that they're the ropes, and they're 1 through 8, and you pull on those.
Yeah.
To make the tune.
Right.
But
And they're you strike them, they don't swing. You know what I mean? It's their carillon. Is that what they call them? Carillon bells. Pardon?
Carillon.
Carillon. Thank you. Carillon bells, where they each have a different tone or timbre, and pardon? Huh?
It sounds neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Hammer strike.
That's right. It's a hammer strike thing. So that's what makes all so there's.
That's why I didn't go in there and play them. Did?
No, do you think,
They're here?
why did they put those bells there? Were they able to communicate? with
47.
those bells?
47, I knew it written down here, yeah, it's 47
Now,
Carillon bells.
St. Finbarr's Cathedral is very unique in that it has 3 equal spires,
Yeah.
which I've never seen anywhere else in Europe.
Now, as I said, we jump around. One could spend hours again talking about the history of Cork during the Reformation.